Anthony, you came back for more.
You know, it's my passion, band.
He just admires Mike Lenny so much that he can't. Never mind.
I appreciate you all asking me. That's
Yeah. We
think it's
appreciate you coming and putting up with
Getting
me.
deep over there on that end of the podcast.
Yeah, it is pretty deep.
Yeah, it's knee deep so far.
Well, welcome back, friends. And, um, I just want to say this one more time. I appreciate you both very much. And I appreciate what you did for kids over the course of your career because I say this a lot. I was the kid that found family. I was the kid that found community and some purpose and finally felt like I belonged when I put an instrument to my face, which is really weird. I had to sit quietly and behave, which was hard for me, but I'd do it because I loved it so much and because people were speaking into my life and people were encouraging and people were making me a better person, even if I didn't know it. So I just wanted to say thank you to both of y'all for doing that for so long and still doing it. I know you're both still doing that a little bit, but tell me what's in your head today, Mike. What questions do we have?
Well, we've got the amazing Anthony Gibson here, and he's got a lot of strengths
Wait,
as
let me
far
do
as a
that
band
right.
director.
Ladies and gentlemen, the
Oh.
amazing Anthony Gibson.
Y'all are funny.
But I think one of the biggest strengths is he's like a Pied Piper of band directors. He just walks down the hall and kids walk out and follow him. And that's always the misnomer because there's a lot of work that goes behind that. And he's here to educate us today from his days of Muleshoe and Coronado and Cooper and Allen, where I don't know about Muleshoe, but I think every band program you've ever touched has increased in numbers and in quality. And that's not always the case, by the way. Sometimes they increase in number for some directors and the quality doesn't go with it. You know what I mean? But he's been able to manipulate both of that. So Anthony has done this really incredible workshop at Midwest with a good friend of ours, Mr. Jay Lester.
Friend
I
of the
believe.
podcast. Yep.
Yeah, friend of the podcast. And so Anthony's going to step us through the misnomer of it's not a Pied Piper. They don't just follow you blindly. How he makes this happen. So Anthony, give us some enlighten us.
I just want to start real quick though that my friends from college that were from USU used to really get angry because I consistently called it Mullis Ho. Mullis Ho, Texas.
Molito.
Or Molejo.
Molejo. Home of Leals, but on with
Leals. The fun part is in Muleshoe, you always got to teach some Leal kids, and they were great.
Yeah.
All
right.
Well, I really appreciate you guys doing this, and I hope some of the directors that are young directors can decipher what we're doing a lot of the times, and some of the old directors can go, yeah, that's kind of how it is, and feel a little more comfortable just to mentor and help young directors as they season, or other words, get old. But, I think for judging, this idea just, it helps our minds as we're going into doing an assessment. It's not judging. But, so yeah, on this recruiting, I'm going to simply start by saying you've got to put butts in the chairs.
I like that quote. Butts in the chairs. That's our mantra.
You gotta have butts in the chairs. Now, immediately people say, I don't want them if they're not the best. Well, you may have empty chairs. So sometimes that's why we call it teaching. But no,
FYI.
Yeah, no kidding. No, the recruitment and retention is required. I mean, that the recruiting part is get them in band. The retention is once they're in band, you now have to make sure that you lay a path and give them opportunities to stay in band. And lastly is that it's required that those two things happen, or you won't have bodies in your band. If you don't recruit and you don't retain, you're going to be looking for another job, or they'll start the marching art program at that school. So, that's always tough.
Yeah.
Oil painting or watercolors. It just really doesn't do the fight song.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Do it justice.
Well, I'm going to run down a couple of things that probably the marketing part of your program, because no one has to even hear your spiel, but if the community sees you at a band at a football game, excuse me, and marching in a parade and it's snowing and you're out there marching in the snow and the kids are having a good time. Why wouldn't they want their kid to be in there? Why wouldn't they want to be a part of that? And that happens in the middle schools. It happens in the high schools. All of it's a community marketing. The kids, I always even think from a marketing standpoint, if teachers and parents see in a cafeteria, everybody gets up and leaves, and there's always somebody leaves their tray. The band kids, you create an environment where the band kids take their tray and somebody else's. Then people go, why'd they do that? Because that's what we do.
That's what band does.
They don't have to say, I am a individual conqueror. No, that's just what we do. We clean up after each other.
Yeah.
And so as a parent and as a community, they're going to see the value of having great kids in your program. There it is. You want to have great kids in your program. And if you don't have them, you want kids that you can make great in your program.
Very good.
That's the starting, is the visibility of all that. That comes through the connection package of, vertical alignment, team teaching. The middle school guys are at the high school. The high school guys are at the middle school at the middle schools. You create that community in itself through vertical alignment and the connection with them. Another one is we certainly want to have good press. You want the band's picture on the paper for doing the parade instead of the picture on the paper for them hijacking a horse full of trailers and letting it go, in the cafeteria at the school. That's not, that's not our program. So, another one, just a topic, I'm going to just keep kind of running these down as far as media. There's two ways to do media. You can get good media and you can have bad media.
Mhm.
You have good press, bad press. So as a director and as one who's overseeing that, is we have good kids. We want good kids. And somebody's going, my kids are not good. You get them in band, we will teach them how to be good kids.
Yeah.
So it's all about good kids and how we see ourselves. So lastly, how it all begins then is the best way is you sell yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you sell yourself to the band world. And that's be the best salesman of, we're here for values. We're here for a good time. We're not going to waste your time. We're going to create relationships. Parents are going to be safe, all of that. And then the big one is we're going to have fun doing it. And
Right.
last but not least is we're going to show results of that.
Yeah.
You'll see results. It will be defined results.
One thing I want to expand on too is that you mentioned team teaching. And there's a lot of directors with one director and they team teach because they're the only director. I've been there, taught 6 years that way. But if you have multiple directors, I'm a real strong believer that kids attach to certain personalities. And it's usually the personality that's more like them or what they want to be, whoever they want to emulate. So like when I talked 11 years with Luke McMillan, there's certain kids attached to his personality and there's certain kids that attach to my personality. And between the two of us as high school directors, we had a pretty good strength in numbers. But if you don't take time to go to the middle school as a high school director, or if you don't get your schedule set up where the middle school directors can at least, I don't want my middle school directors to have to teach a lot at the high school because I think they have enough on their plate, but they have to make an appearance. You know what I mean? They need to be there to do something. Yeah. So it's I think that's something that we forget about and we get kind of in our own little cave and we teach, but I don't know. I just wanted to kind of bring that up. That's all
Well,
good stuff.
I'm going to throw one other thing on top of that. And I always think this is one of the interesting and maybe more challenging aspects of as your program becomes more successful and you have more butts in the seat. Studies show that you can only personally invest, I mean, really personally invest in about 35 to 40 people. Derek can only invest one-on-one or have meaningful connections. So it's almost incumbent that you have other people that you can have them connect with, other people besides your 35 or 40. That doesn't mean we don't care about, we don't teach everybody equal, but just the way we are constructed, there's overload there if you don't do the team, create the team and let the team do their job. Yes, no, maybe?
Yes, no, maybe.
Okay.
Yes. No, I mean,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I agree with you in certain circumstances, but I also think that I may not be able to connect more than 8 trombone players at one time.
I got
But
it.
in a marching band, have very much been able to connect with 800 people on the field.
Exactly. That's not my point being from the relational standpoint. You listen, I'm not talking about size of your group and the actual teaching moments, but I'm saying we've talked before about Mike just said some attached to Luke, some attached to him.
Right. Right.
Because that's the way we are. It's just psychology. But
Mhm.
And the way
So-
you could communicate with 800 students, because if they did not talk, all right, let's drop and give me 20. And there'd be 18 bodies hit the deck, 800 bodies slapping down, doing their push-ups. But when they came up, there was a lot of participation amongst each other. Like, you better keep your mouth shut or I'm
Here's
gonna
it.
ring you know.
Student
And then-
leadership. Yep.
Yeah. And then they would be looking for those other directors saying, please protect me.
And this is still off topic. I apologize, but I came from the era where maybe our director said, listen, guys, we seem to be having a problem in the low end of the trombone section. Do you think we get that taken care of? Yes, sir. We're on it.
Yes, sir, Mr. Story. I learned a lot from him. Oh, that's funny. But yeah,
all
it
right.
is a unique group in that respect. But team teaching is, I just think that we've been slow in education. We should do more of it. I'm not on a school board and I'm not planning on being on it.
Yeah.
But it is proven that team teaching and shared strategies it is so valuable to programs. I wish you could do it in English class, but they would only be for a discipline. I mean, it's a different environment on how you're going to teach
Yeah.
a novel than it is to teach 7 different instruments.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a cool thing, but we're kind of spoiled to have the ability to team teach. I mean, I did kind of that band director's marching band thing for the Macy's and doing it for the Rose Bowl. And it really talking to those guys up north, it really opened my eyes. Some of them have what we would call a 5A band program with like 200 kids in a marching band, and they do beginners, middle school, guitar class, high school, and orchestra and choir, and do the theater arts thing, the musical. And they just like, how many band directors did you have? Yeah. So we've got that in front of us, but then we tend to get lazy. It's like, well, I
Yep.
can just stay over here and do some paperwork. And I'm just not going to go over there, And so we've got to be careful because those administrators are smarter than we give them credit for. They're going to see that. They know that. In fact, when I applied at my last job, they asked me a question verbatim. They said, how do you feel about going over to the junior high? And I said, well, if I can't go to the junior high, I said, I don't want to work here. And they said, that's the right answer. You know what I mean? Because the previous director and there were some health issues, and a great man, but there were some health issues, but he kind of just stayed at the high school all day and towards his last year. So I'm not throwing him under the bus kind of thing, but they were real concerned with that because they noticed that. I don't
Right.
think other people realize they noticed that. So get off your rear and, go to the middle school. You can do that paperwork some other time.
Yeah, guys,
You
I'm
know.
not trying to sidetrack you or hijack it, but I do know of directors that teach first period and go home.
Yeah.
Or
that
I've
does
heard.
Exist. Oh, yeah, that exists.
And
All right.
going home, that's
Yeah, at the time I was married to my junior high band director, so that wasn't quite found to be acceptable. We'll just leave it at that.
Back to team teaching and
Yeah, back to team teaching. Yeah, but go ahead, Anthony. What's your next point, my friend?
oh, well.
Yeah, we need to get out of that real quick.
I think we were on administration.
Yes, sir.
weren't
Yes,
we?
sir. We were on administration. Yes, we were.
Oh, and I obviously have got some topics that we'll all throw out. Communicate and support the administration. Communicate with and support the administration. Not only do they write your check, they buy capital. They can, yeah. The learning environment. We've done a session on that. Just make sure that you've got yourself available for that. pride. We want our administration to have pride in us and the community to have pride. And here's the biggie. You ready?
I'm ready.
Be low maintenance.
Oh,
Be
thank you for saying that.
low maintenance.
So many people miss that.
Oh.
Expound on that, my friend.
Do you know how important I am?
Oh. You know, we haven't had a new band marching field put in almost 3 years now. You know, the football team's riding on junkie buses and they're taking chartered buses to whatever. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Be low maintenance.
Be low maintenance. Yeah.
Be low and
It doesn't mean you can't fight for your program,
oh yeah,
but be low maintenance.
that's right.
Speak up at the right time, with the right tact, the right tone.
When
the
we
right
go in
timing.
for proposals and that administrator says, man, I don't want to see him in my office.
Yeah.
That's not a good way to start when you're saying, hey, we've had a good year, but is there any way we can get an instrument?
Or I've seen directors. Oh, I've had directors tell me, well, I saw my principal at the United grocery store, and I started talking to. You did what? You started talking to your administrator at United when they're shopping for groceries. That is not the right time, But they thought it was on their mind, and they wanted to express it. But yeah, Anthony's 100% correct. Be low maintenance. You can fight for your program, just do it correctly.
You can talk to your administrator on United, but you always say, "Oh, so you drink a lot of beer,
make a lot of bread, do you?"
Yeah, but you don't talk shop because they'll almost
That's right. Or
realize you're human.
Yeah, or at church, you don't sidetrack someone at church and go, "Hey, let's talk about Friday night." No.
Oh yeah.
Be low maintenance. I love that.
And speaking of administrators, that handbook that y'all have done that on another podcast, I think.
Yeah.
Handbook, it doesn't solve everything, but it's in black and white. I mean, at the back, they've signed, the parents signed, they understand them. I don't know that you're going to get through a court of law because it is a piece, but it's a good place to start.
It's a gentleman's agreement, at least.
Very much a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah.
So, from an administration standpoint, I think if you keep them happy, if you make them proud, you will continue. If you're going in saying, we don't sound very good and we're not a very good band, so I need you to give us more. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You go in and produce.
Yeah. And I'll throw out there too, this sounds kind of odd, but learn how to speak administrationese.
Yeah.
Learn their language. The things that are important to them. Most administrators, they will tell you they're real concerned with the band making a 1, but only if the parents climb down their neck for the band not making a 1. You know what I mean? So that you got to find out, what are their goals? What is their rationale? What do they consider a good band? Who do they consider as a normal person? I think the best compliment I ever had was my holiday superintendent when he goes, Mike, for a band director, you're almost a normal person.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to take that as a compliment. He goes, you should. I said, you should. You're almost a normal person. Yeah. So we've got to be careful about how we approach our administration and things of that nature. So,
and community, we can't play the fight song after they scored because we're down here warming up. You've been warming up.
Oh.
Since Friday morning.
Yeah, we think a lot alike on that. We'll be down there warming up before halftime. If they score, everything stops. One drum major's tasked to watch the football game.
Yeah.
While I'm warming up, and they turn and go, "Mr. Lunny, fight song," and we roll off and we go because other bands say, "No, we're playing along with the metronome with the Remingtons. We don't have time for the football team at this moment."
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Talk about
And sorry, the drum circle's only on rudiment 5.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
And how does that relate to recruiting is that the kids who are, the parents are watching that at the coffee shop and they go, can you believe that band, by golly, we scored and we almost won that game, but they were over there playing Remington. They don't know what Remington is from.
They were up there warming up.
A shotgun shell. But I'll tell you, they know what the fight song is.
Yeah. And they'll talk about you if you don't do your service civic duty as a band. You're sunk. Yeah. You are sunk.
And third and short, we're tuning. No. Third and short, we're playing loud.
Yeah, we're playing loud.
I think I ought to write me a series of loud 20-second, Born to Be Wild, 2 measures repeated.
Oh,
band
Luke
drops
has the ultimate
for short yardage.
It is for free. It's called Dark Force.
Force.
He wrote it for the Wiley Band, and it's a beautiful piece because it starts like woodwinds, then low brass, then everyone with percussion, and you can do it by hand signals, so you can get the contrast in volume. But it was written for the sheer purpose of causing problems on the football field.
Yeah.
That was the whole purpose of the piece.
That's
Nothing musical about it, but he'll send it to you for free. LukeMcMillanmusic.com.
I'm working on one called Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
I've got the flag at home. I've been called.
Oh.
15-yard penalty.
I've been talked to many a time in Allen, Texas, because it was disruptive.
Well, you had 700 kids too. Yeah.
Or more.
You had police
Yeah.
showing up probably saying, could you tone it down? It's past the curfew.
Man, the ref usually had a talk before every game.
Yeah.
Preemptive.
And my response was, why don't you go across the field and tell them to get their recruiting up, and then it won't be such a distraction. That referee never has responded the way I want
hasn't.
to. Like, you know what? You're right.
You're
I
right.
did hear
I
that.
need to go work on his recruiting.
All right, let's see. Where
Yeah, where were we at? Yeah, that was fun, but where were we at? Handbook communication,
I'm
website,
just imagining that meeting.
expectations.
Calm, collected Anthony Gibson.
Oh,
You know what?
man. It's fun.
I think this is a really important one to go to. Coaches and teachers.
Well, speaking of
Yeah.
athletics,
Yeah. Speaking of athletics and football games.
and that first thought is share kids.
So talk to me. Do you believe that?
No, I live by it.
Okay.
I don't just believe it. I think
Okay.
it's the sheer existence of our programs if we want to continue to grow and be. And some people just don't want to do it. Some
Mhm.
people realize it's hard to do. And some people just don't have enough water to swallow their pride to say, you know what? I can let my kid go to an ag and show their pig instead of go to that football game.
Right.
I mean, it's a third trombone player. I mean, life goes on. Sometimes, actually, not sometimes, in our programs, and I speak from all the way from Muleshoe on,
Yeah.
is there were kids that would go out on the field at halftime and they take their shoulder pads off and march with their pads on. Cheerleaders, drill team, mascots, all of those things. And those were fun times, but there's a certain time you have to build that into your program. It doesn't just happen. I can guarantee you it doesn't happen because people say it won't work. Oh yeah, it'll work. And you have to give. There's going to be a give and take. And when there's a conflict, the band guy says, no problem, take them.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it kind of depends on the coach, doesn't it? Because there's certain coaches I've dealt with that sharing kids meant that when they were done with them, I got them.
Yeah, no, that's
And there
right.
was other ones we split the time in half,
Right.
and so you just got to deal with what's dealt you.
Right.
And we don't want the kid to ever feel like they're failing us
Yeah.
by not being there, and I think that's the key factor. We don't want to make it a decision between the adults, even if, like you said, I've got to swallow my pride and go,
Yes.
I mean, my son was a starting varsity football player and never marched at halftime. He marched at state marching, but he never marched at halftime because he was, that's just the way it was. And I don't, it's fine. I think our coach said it best. He goes, because we were really good friends. And he goes, no, Mike
Yeah.
said, I would love, it would be cool because he played center snare for Clements High School.
No.
He wasn't a football player. He was in the band in high school. And he goes, it would be cool to have the band kids leave the locker room to march halftime. He said, but I need them there. He said, think about if you were at area marching and I came up to you during warm up and I said, hey man, I need about 20 of those kids. Said, because we've got something to do over here. We got some film to watch. He goes, that just has to be my time. And I respected that. But there was other schools like Electra
Mhm.
where, if the football team had to have my low brass, and my low brass had to have the football team because they were the same kids.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So our coaches, we've worked it out. So I don't know. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. If you just say it's not going to work as a band director, you've just taken about 1/3 of your band's butts out of their seats because they will choose.
Right.
Most of them will
Absolutely.
choose the sport.
And not only the band kid, the community sees that every week. They don't see everybody putting down the pads and grabbing a horn, but even if they see some,
Yeah.
and Alan, I used to think, it's hard in Muleshoe or it's hard in some of the small schools to just have, and they need to go in because they're the starting lineman. But in Allen, there were let's just say at 1 year there were 800 kids. So out of those 800 kids, there would be football players, trainers, drill team. The list goes on
Yeah.
and on, and there would be a lot. I mean, like 100 of the 800.
Yeah. That's
And
amazing.
and you say, well, and it was just a given. When I went there, they said, we want to grow a program, and you can do it, whatever you need. So here we were. We laid it down.
Yeah.
And the coach, it's funny. Mike was just talking about your son going into the locker room.
Yeah.
But one time there was this clarinet player, and he was about 6
I
feet.
remember that clarinet player, all-state clarinet player.
No,
No.
not this one.
That's a different story. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm
This,
sorry.
this kid was like 6'5". He's taller than me. His shoulders were as broad as Dick Butkus. I mean, he's a moose, and he holds a clarinet. It looks like a little flutatone, and he was a great kid, and he loved to play. It was great people. And he was on the varsity. He was a defensive end. And, of course, when you've got your band kids out on the field, your band is very engaged in the program. So, sometimes there's give and take, but he was playing, and he would put down his pads and grab his clarinet. Now, at a playoff game, the first time the coach and I looked at him, and I'd beat him to it. I don't need those boys.
Yeah.
But then after that, if they were, I needed that. He needed that boy. But
Yeah.
after that, they moved the JV up to the varsity for playoffs. You know how that
Right.
is. Well,
Not even number eligible.
yeah,
But they're
yeah,
just sitting
yeah.
there in pads.
But then those were the nights in playoffs. All those JV kids
Oh, look cool, didn't it?
peel their helmets
I
off,
love that.
shoulder pads, and grab a
Because
baritone.
they can't go on the field to play.
Yeah.
Football, they can't
Yeah.
because they're not number eligible because there's another 22 on varsity. Yeah, so that's
Well,
always
they-
a cool moment. The
They love
fans
marking.
like, whoa.
But that clarinet player, oh my goodness.
Was that part of his trash talk?
Yeah. Oh yeah. What?
I could play
So-
over the break.
Yes.
I'm a clarinet player too after he pancakes a kid.
So picture in that Allen Stadium though, and the band's right down there in our little world, and the Plano, I don't remember, it was one of the Plano schools or whatever, and their hot shot running back came running around. They're running toward the band, and I mean, this kid just plowed him over, cold cocked him, splattered him out right in front of the band. And we're going nuts. It was one of those ESPN playback.
Yeah.
And then he stands up and sticks his finger down in that guy's face and says, and I play the clarinet and in the band too. Walk, walk. And I mean, the band went nuts.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is the funniest story, man. You didn't want to mess with our clarinet players. Isn't that funny?
But I
But
think
that's priceless to recruiting right there.
I
Yeah.
I
there
say
were-
a lot of life, just talking about that subject, communication, relationship. If you don't have those, I mean, if you have those, you can get through just about anything.
You're right.
Develop
It's
relationship with your
Critical.
peers and communicate well,
Critical.
because we can't do it
Yeah.
all.
And some people think band is their life. It's just part of their life.
Yeah, that's a hard one for directors to wrap their brain around because
They need to
for
start
us,
rapping.
it's like our career
Yeah.
and all that. But that kid that plays trumpet in your band or clarinet or whatever, that's just one part of their life.
Oh man.
And maybe even not a super, super important part of their life. They just kind of like a few kids in band and it's fun for them. So we've got to be aware of that.
Mhm.
They're not going to run through walls for us necessarily. You know
But
what
it
I
does
mean?
have benefit. They're there.
It
for
does
the
have benefit, but be respectful of that and their time and, communicate to them exactly when rehearsals will be. I don't know about how Anthony feels about it, but I don't think I ever in my last 20 years added a rehearsal to the schedule. Just impromptu,
No.
like, hey, things aren't going well. Let's meet Thursday at 4 to 6. Not once, because I wanted them to know that
Right.
this is when we start. If we start on time, we end on time. I never, if it's 9 o'clock, we stop. I was not about to go to 9:30 to make a point
Oh no.
because all you do is make the band moms mad.
No kidding.
And you don't want the band moms mad because they will ruin your life.
And it goes against everything we do.
Yes,
Time
that's
is,
right.
Time
That's
is so
right.
valuable
It's all
to
being
them as
respectful.
much as it is to us.
Yeah.
All right. One thing that we did there, and I still am a big believer, is in that student leadership that we're talking about. But how many times have you had your band and just said, all right, we're going to have my top band and we're just going to start teaching to the lowest freshman members?
Yeah.
Not good. Not for me.
Yeah.
Teach to the top. I mean, I'm gonna teach the third band kids at the same level I'm gonna teach the
Yes.
first band.
Just easier music, but you teach at the same
Right.
level.
Teach to the top
Yeah.
of every one of them. And,
Yeah.
I think that is a big mistake we make in our profession, because we need to feel like we need to baby them. We need to, we got to do it for them. That they don't want us to do it for
Or
'em.
make them feel like they're a throwaway.
Oh, yeah.
You know, well, it's just the third band. They don't really
No.
count.
Right.
You know, it's
The
every kid's
expectation
important.
is everybody does it.
Yeah, everyone
That's
shows
the
up on
best thing.
time. Everybody has their equipment.
Oh, man. Yes.
Yeah.
That's hard to do sometimes when your band's not very good, but that layer,
Yeah.
it all starts at different levels. So
And in our system in bigger schools where we tend to give the lowest sub non-varsity band to the most inexperienced teacher.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of how the system's set up, and but I think even at Allen, I believe, didn't you do like the bottom concert band and the top concert band?
Heck yeah, man. I do band,
Yeah, so that
band
made
1 and band 9.
and see that helped in the retention. I knew he wasn't going to bring that up because to him it's just common sense. But how many directors actually do that? You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
going to do the lowest concert band and the highest concert band because I want the lowest concert band to realize that the director is the one that takes us to contest. Even at Allen, where it's like the 11th concert band.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of concert bands.
It's like band 11.
Yeah.
Anthony took the contest, and I think that meant a lot to those kids. They either decided to stay in band, or if Anthony teach them, they decided maybe not to be in band. But
Yeah, well,
You know,
sometimes we have to make
sometimes-
big decisions.
yeah, there's a decision was made instead of giving it to
Firm,
the
fair, and friendly.
to
Anthony
the 11th
Gibson.
director instead of the 11th director doing them, not knowing
Oh,
what
yeah.
they're doing.
But it was.
I just thought I'd bring that up.
Oh yeah.
I was always impressed by that. Yeah.
Yeah. I would usually get the mad parent that was just really going to push it hard, and I just go, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I learned to sit and just go, no, man, that's just not how we're going to do it.
Yeah. Just let them vent
Yeah.
and then
But
tell them how we're going to do it.
I tell you what, though, parents appreciated having structure. If anybody says, oh, those parents, man, and they get mad, don't get mad back at the parent. Go look in the mirror and
Yeah.
try to figure out, what did I do? How could I have done that where they would not be mad about this situation? And that's where you can't change
Yeah.
a parent. The only person you can change is yourself, and directors.
Oh, say that again. That's a really important part.
You can't
This-
change somebody else. You can only change yourself.
That's right.
And you will live longer and prosper.
That's right.
All right, give us another topic.
Yeah. Where we at? Where we at?
Oh, this is awesome.
Ah, yeah. Learn from the droppers. Go for it.
I thought that I got a funny look from you. So what do you think that means?
Well,
Learn from droppers.
Well, for me personally, it was like if a kid came and actually talked to me about it, they were going to
Right.
drop band. I felt like if they were going to talk to me about it, I still have a chance
Right.
that I could talk them into it. If they just quit, they just quit. But either way, if I had a chance, I'd always tell them, hey man, if I see you in the hallway, I'm still going to say hi to you.
Yeah.
There's nothing personal here. It said, I understand you've made a decision and I'm not taking that personal. So I hope we can be on a level to which you're not upset with me or I'm upset with you. If you are upset with me, like learn from the droppers. What did I do
There you go.
that caused this to happen? Because I might not be able to salvage what's happening here.
Right.
You might still go out the door, but I can change what I do if it's and I learned a lot from the kids because usually they don't
Mhm.
tell you the truth.
Mhm.
They say they've got a job, they want to focus on academics. They have their canned answers. But 1 out of 10, they really say it. They go, well, Mr. Laney, we just think this, this, and this. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I could do that different. I
That-
could do that different.
My
Yeah.
ratio of learning from droppers is 10 out of 10.
right.
Wow.
Because if they just drop and I track them down and they say, I just don't want to do it. Sometimes they just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what?
And that's okay.
And I respect that. Have you talked to your parents? Yes, sir. Well, good. Have your mom just shoot me a note. And that's the end of it.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
But then you go back to, like you say, the learning part is what could I have done differently? What is there somebody on staff? Is there some way we do something that might have changed that? And some of them just go, no, I just am done. And I
Yeah.
just have to respect that.
Yeah.
That may be 1 out of 50.
Yeah.
The other 47 or whatever are like, I don't, I hate this. And sometimes it's staff.
Yeah.
Then the next morning you're having coffee with, hey, tell
By
us
the way,
about that.
yeah.
And we all learn from it. So I know that sounds funny.
But some of that too, we had an episode that we actually just called it "Sometimes They Quit."
That's
Yeah,
right.
we had a whole podcast on it.
Well, there you
Sometimes they
have
just
it.
quit.
But
Sorry.
but
No,
one of the
no.
things,
I think it's an important part about your
Oh,
retention.
no, but
Absolutely.
one
You've got
of the
to
things,
acknowledge the ones that are leaving, so you know how to create an atmosphere for the ones that stay.
But I will jump in on the fact that if kids and parents know that you are going to approach them and ask them, then they're going to make sure it's a valid, thought through. Administrators will go, "Hey, yeah, have you talked to Mr. Gibson?" No. Well, we're not talking until after you go visit him.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes they just rather stay in band for 3 more years than come talk to me.
Yeah.
So
And I've had that relationship with my counselors and admins
Yeah,
too, where it's like the kid goes down and says, "I don't want to be in band. We need a note from Mr. Lenny."
yeah.
And they're like, "I'll just stay in band."
so my point in bringing that up though was, I
Okay.
think sometimes we try to make it about us,
Yeah.
and
No
yeah.
doubt.
maybe that kid's just going to go into nuclear physics, and he has to have some other classes to make that work. He loves band; it's not an issue with do I like it or not,
Mm-hmm.
but I've got to go do this, and that's my life plan. Okay,
Yeah. I think of the things that over the years, especially as a student, that I quit.
run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't about the teacher.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. And you know what? When it gets right down to it, I would say, I'm sorry you feel that way. And if there's some way I can help you change it, but if it's over, it's over,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'll still say hi to you at the grocery store. It's
But-
Right.
you can see how you love my,
I like it. Avoid ugly breakups.
and in parentheses,
Coffee shop talk.
there
Yeah.
you go. It doesn't matter how big the town is. There's coffee talk,
There is.
coffee shop talk. And if that parent is sitting, I don't mean to get a hard on, get tough on parents,
Yeah.
but for them to be sitting around the coffee shop and all of a sudden, yeah, my kid's not getting in that band. He's not
Yeah.
bad enough of that.
That jerk.
Yeah. But that just kind of doesn't happen if you manage the kids right.
Yes.
Because they're still kids.
That's right.
But
fact,
I
one
think
of
people
the-
learn to respect fair
That's
and
right.
honest.
Thank you.
They don't like it necessarily, but they
Yeah,
respect
but they
it.
respect
At
it.
times. They respect it.
Yeah.
I think one of
Because
those
other people
brilliant,
at the coffee shop will turn around and go, you know what? Mr. Gibson's not like that.
yeah, I think one of those
That's-
brilliant superintendents I ever had was in Electra, and the athletic director, Coach Bateman, and myself were assigned to the Dairy Queen at 10 o'clock every day.
Oh,
And we're like, what's this about? He goes, no, you two are going to go to the Dairy Queen and drink coffee every morning at 10 to 10:40.
that's fun.
And so, because that's when all the farmers come in
Mm.
mid-morning after they do all their stuff, and the welders and ranchers, and said, don't say a thing to them, wait for them. And then after a while they go, are you the band guy? Yeah, I'm the band guy. Well, I was wondering why you don't do some of the, and then you explain it to him, but it solves so many problems
Mhm.
being in the middle of coffee talk at the Dairy
Yes.
Queen, a little Electra, Texas.
There you go.
But I always look back, that guy was brilliant, solved
Yes.
so many problems from his office.
Well,
you
you
know.
guys may or may not be aware. I read a lot of Maxwell, and his 21 irrefutable laws. One of the things he talks about is the law of E. of Hutton, and titles, all that other stuff doesn't matter. Who talks and people listen. That's who you learn, and they're usually in the coffee shop,
Mhm.
and you have an honest conversation, and everybody understands. He takes care of a lot of or she will take care of a lot of those issues, and you won't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And I
Anyway.
try to really stress to younger teachers that I put it as a lot of my band problems when I was at a certain job for like 10 years, those problems were solved in Sunday school. Because a parent would look at us and say, Mr. Lenny wants the kids to do this. So what's the deal with that? And the
Yeah.
parent will go, oh, no, it makes sense because they got to have their travel uniform in case it rains. It's like, oh, okay. And I never hear about it.
Right.
They're solved in Sunday school. That's just
There
a
you go.
colloquial term.
Mhm.
But it works, but if you're not fair and consistent, then it's never solved in Sunday school or the
Right.
coffee shop. It's always, it ends up on your desk.
Yeah.
But I
And it's
do think
terrible.
that that's important, especially from the droppers. they have respect for you and they know that you're not trying to guilt them. I've had directors try to guilt. I've seen it. I watched it.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's the right approach.
Oh yeah.
Be consistent in who you are. Listen to them. Realize if there's something we can fix, let's fix it. If there's not, Godspeed.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, something to impress upon directors is in my younger years, I tried to do that form of the guilt thing. And will you come back to band? I can't think of a time when it was a good situation when they came back
Yeah.
because they always felt like they had you over the barrel. You know what I mean? Because they were doing you a favor now. And it's that's not a really good way of approaching a relationship. So
But the one area where I think we've kind of skimmed over is that a kid's coming in to get out of band. And through that dialogue, you find out that there's been some bullying and there's been
Yes.
some things going on, and you go, you know what, let me just work on some of this
Yeah.
with Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so on the bus. You know,
Yeah.
you getting out of band is not the solution for you getting called down, and maybe there's a misunderstanding. And once again, it goes back to good conversation. Let's get to the bottom of it and put all the other
Yeah, that's
stuff.
perfect because when you're talking to that kid, you can say, I've done it before, said, can you give me a month?
Yeah.
Can you give me a month? You've told me what
Mm,
caused this to happen with you. Can you give me some time to fix that?
right.
And then if it's not, if you don't feel like it's fixed, then I respect that fact. But do you actually enjoy playing your instrument? Well, yeah. Give me a chance.
Yeah. Good.
You know, give me a chance. And sometimes that works out, you know.
Sometimes
Cool.
they forget.
Sometimes
2 days
they
later.
Yeah.
What was I doing?
Yeah.
No.
All right. How do we retain them? Are there any just practical things, Mr. Gibson, that we can philosophy or
Yes.
practices that we can
Here,
bring into the
here,
conversation?
I think in my life and career, the word competition, you have to go and win. And I learned quick as a basketball player, you look up scoreboard, we got beat. Or, but in band, every band has a different level of what success is. And so I just had to define what success was. And is it winning? I've never had a band that played at Midwest. Is that a win? Well, we had an orchestra play there, which was
Yeah.
neat. It was neat, and all our wind players were there. But no state marching contest. I'm healthy. I have not won any of those.
Yeah.
But what my goal was to make sure that band was a tool to be successful. And so many band kids want to do a lot of things. And if they can pony up and doing it, if they can do more activities and band, then we all win. I mean, you just define winning. I want kids to have a safe environment. I want them to have high expectations. The list goes on,
Mhm.
but I want them to have the opportunity to do that plus something else. And here's why. As a freshman, you have to play basketball or you're in band. And I went to the varsity basketball coach and the band director said, can I just do them both? That I was too young to be told I could not do both of those.
Yes. Yeah.
They're scheduled at the same time. Okay, what are my options? Well, you can't do it. Well, I mean, boy, that was, how old are you, freshman? In my case, I was
15.
28.
14, 15.
No, just kidding.
28. Eighth grade math was
Yeah,
tough for you.
it was tough, man. Yeah, but as a 15-year-old, you have to decide if you're going to do one or the other. I knew I was going to teach coach. So that's what defined in my life what winning is not that you win trophies, because trophies are trophies, but it's what in my life I won from a different, being able to participate and having I met my wife there, all my kids went through band, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And they do other things.
Yeah.
So,
And I tell you what, you're a perfect example of it's not about how many trophies on the shelf to be
Yeah.
successful, because you've had an extremely successful career and you could line up 1,000 adults that would say they enjoyed their time in band and a few that
Yeah.
probably didn't, but
no,
but you know what I mean?
I was happy they did. I
Yeah.
tried to make it that way. No.
But you had a successful career. So sometimes a younger director thinks the only means of success
Right.
is to get those little trapezoid trophies on the shelf. And it's not the only way. And it's not the correct way. You have to have what you're doing, and then if the trophies come along, that's fine. But I just think it's a great example. That it
Yeah,
be focused on
I
the kids and not
appreciate
on the
you
trophy.
noticing that and knowing that we've known each other a long time,
Yeah.
and sometimes we've gotten UIL plaques, and we thought that was a second division.
Yeah. I always say UIL giveth and UIL taketh away.
Absolutely.
There's sometimes like, oh, we made a 1.
Yeah.
We really didn't, but thank you. And other times, that was a 2. I
Yeah.
thought it was a 1.
And there's been
You
times,
can't base your life on that trophy.
and then there's times you got a 2 and you didn't get a plaque. And
Yeah.
it was the most educational moment
It
of my life.
was.
I would go back and my wife would just like leave me alone for 2 days. I would be locked into a room listening to every judge's critique. I learned more from a 2 than I
Yeah,
did from
yeah,
a 1.
yeah.
So, yeah, you define successes and goals that way.
But I think that's the real key. I don't know if you acknowledge it this way. The real key to your success as a director, as far as the largeness of the groups,
Yeah.
is the fact that you approached it that way.
Yeah.
You're very student centered instead of you're a consumable product. I need to get a trophy and get to start
Oh,
marching.
no.
And I hate to say it that way, but there's a lot of programs that
know.
exist that way.
Yeah.
That's if the student is consumed by this and they quit and we get to state marching, that's a risk I'm willing to take.
Yeah.
So I think that's why your groups had the retention,
But the hardest
Oh, I
part,
like that. Retention happens daily. Yeah.
that's where it is.
It's
Those
not the
kids-
little horn show at the end of
Yeah.
the year and the
no,
Disney trip
right.
arrival. And
Yeah, I'm not a fan of, well, we're going to Disney, so our enrollment's up 20%.
yeah.
Well, will it be that way next year?
No, it
Oh,
won't. I can
no,
tell you
because
from my own
We're
personal.
going to Sundown. No, if it's Sundown people. And what's
Yeah.
the Pump Jacks?
Yeah.
But it's not about the trips. The retention is the relationships that they build. There's the other value of a program. And this is all that I'm saying in everything here. I stole from every program known to man. I mean, if you want to have a great football program, you could copy off
Yeah.
a checklist and go through it. And in your mind, you go to workouts and explore. If you want to make your business grow, I mean, this is common sense.
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I hadn't used like order rest yet in my discussion. It's all about people. It's about,
Eastman system.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
it is about getting people on board,
Yeah.
I hope that makes
Yeah, you're right. They'll figure out the quarter rest
Oh,
on their own.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But Anthony, would you also agree that sometimes this stuff doesn't happen tomorrow? This is a process. This is a journey.
Big
So
time.
don't give up on it because it doesn't look like it's working today.
Right.
And,
And it goes back to, like we were talking, don't feel like you're a lone ranger in it. Get help, find somebody, Can you imagine if somebody says, how did y'all get so many? Some people will never even breach the conversation of 800 kids. Well, here it is. They go, oh, that's a big school. It was a big percentage.
So are other schools. Other
They're all-
schools are
but
4,000 kids and have 100 marching bands. So
But the point is, all these are good people skills,
Yes.
which is what we in our business should be teaching as much or more than the notes. The notes can come and go, but how you treat each other will make a huge difference in their lives.
yeah. And even though we're pretty much colleagues of the same age, basically,
You're
I
a lot
remember.
older than
That's right. I turned
don't
90
lump
next
me in
week.
that, Mike.
Yeah.
But if you see someone like I would watch Anthony, and I gained a lot of information just by watching him rehearse, because I knew that there was things he was doing that I wasn't doing, and I used that as a purposeful, intentional thing to go watch him rehearse and watch him conduct his band and watch him interact with his kids. And I never could do it as well as Anthony, but I got pretty good at it, at imitating, and it helped out because the
Modeling,
band went like
right?
from 100 to 180 to 200. So
imitate.
yeah, we all imitate. But I'm just saying, find someone who has that ability and go copy.
Yes.
Go find them and watch them rehearse, and
But I
at
would
a
also
daily rehearsal.
I would also caution this though. You do it in a way that's genuine to you. don't pretend.
Yeah, it has to be your personality, but all these things are not personality things for the most part.
No, I got it. I got it. But
Yeah,
you
so
understand what I'm saying.
yes, I understand completely. And I think it goes to the fact Luke McMillan has a great theory, maybe a conspiracy theory. He said band directors attract the larger spectrum of what they were in high school. So, like Anthony was a varsity basketball player.
I wish. Couldn't do it.
Oh, couldn't do it, but he was a basketball player.
Yeah.
You know, and so he was in athletics. So
I
he
was in
tends
band.
to, so he attracts some kids who are in athletics a little more. It's if someone is in like one act play athletics and National Honor Society and a 2-year All-Stater, that person just from sheer connection will attract a lot more kids than someone who is a band kid who made All-State 3 times, but all they did in high school was band. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But if you're in that category, you need to go find someone who's done the other stuff so you can see what you need to do. Because I've seen many 4-year All-Staters that become band directors that have little tiny bands. And because they expect all their kids to be All-State for 4 years, and
Right.
their marching band plays like a 4-year All-State flute player, and which is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But sometimes the administration just wants a wild ass brass player.
Right.
Yeah, they just want someone to come in there and just light everything on fire and just watch the ashes.
And
You know,
with big bands and marching band, you would be surprised how few PE teachers you need to get that PE.
yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, there's a lot of perspectives on that from
Yeah,
administration, but
So go find people to copy. Find people to copy.
and anytime the band's talking and I'd go, we need to be quiet, and they didn't give me 10. No one ever said anything because that was their PE class.
That was their PE class. Get their PE.
And
credit.
I would say that.
I've never made that connection. That's great.
It just depends on how much PE you want to do today or how much music would you like to do. You decide.
I love
That's
that.
awesome. That's
You used to
awesome.
have pretty quiet rehearsals.
That was funny. All right, we're going to earn our PE credits today. Everybody drop.
I've said that many times.
What was it? Run a Cooper mile?
Yeah, that's right. The Cougar Mile.
Cougar. It's a Cougar
Yeah.
mile. Run a
Yeah,
Cougar
run
mile
a
all the way
Cougar
around
mile.
campus.
So, drop a couple of things at you, Anthony, and I'm going to let y'all wrap this up. The saying is, people don't really care how much you know. I don't care how awesome you can, break down a music chart. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Bingo.
And so you have to genuinely demonstrate that you're more interested in the student's success in the room. And I'm talking about retention, especially.
Mm-hmm.
They
Absolutely.
are much more drawn to somebody. And that's the other saying that I'm going to say. We don't always attract what we want. We attract who we are, which is another great reason to have people on staff that aren't you, aren't
Right.
carbon copies. But, and the last thing, and then I'll shut up. The journey is the reward. Validity.
Absolutely. And we just use music as the tool to go through the journey. I
Right.
mean, that's why I've never won an honor band and I'm never going to. But I think there's a lot of kids that probably are better parents, better workers in their, we keep in touch with a lot of them. It's a journey, and I'm hoping that it was a positive and a rewarding journey, but to contribute back into society, some of that would be really pretty neat. And again, it goes back to participation. You got to have butts in the chairs before you can teach.
And Mike, I'm
Yeah.
going to land this one on you because, listen, you both could take me, but fight me on this. As long as we keep our focus on the success of those butts in the chair and quit grading ourselves on how many trophies are, listen, we talk, this used to be a thing. Well, it's not a state year, so we're going to dumb it down this year. I don't think that's, and I'm not trying to go off on that tangent too far, but if we're more interested in those kids being successful every year, every day of every year, every rehearsal, then I think that's when we find they know that we care and they want to be a part of that atmosphere.
Yes, I would agree with that 100%. I like to use the analogy of a security guard at a warehouse at night. They check every door, but they want it to be locked. Think about that. They don't want to find an open door. They want everything locked. I think kids find security in that. That they, not that we're oppressive, but they know what the standards are. And the journey is to make better music, not to do a power struggle of trying to force kids to do something. And once we arrive at that level, life is actually enjoyable. I spent a
Well,
lot of years just toiling over the UIL demon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was when I look back on it, and we won a trophy here and there and that kind of thing, and part of that was okay, but there's things I would do different if I could do the whole thing over again. There are things I would do different.
Sure.
You
well,
know,
Kit, we've said this before. Anthony, welcome to the conversation. Boundaries are important. They will be better people and perform better and be more successful when they know what the boundaries are
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
they realize that discipline is a positive part of their life.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm
All right,
telling
man.
you. Wow.
Well,
That was a really a lot of fun to just kind of go back through
Yeah.
something that's so passionate to me.
Yes.
And Mike knows it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've watched him for years to try to get what I could out of it. But yeah, this podcast has been a lot of fun because it reminds me a lot more of the old coffee room talks at the music store, where you just sit around on a Thursday morning and just
Right.
kind of talk about how to do things. So it's been really a lot of fun, Anthony, having you for 3 separate podcasts, and we
Absolutely.
won't do them in a row because a little bit of Anthony Gibson will do you for a while.
wow.
That's what my wife is.
There goes Mike.
Yeah.
Quiet part.
Yeah.
We just know each other well enough. I can say things like that.
We do know each other very well.
We've been in Mexico together, so
That's right.
Well, Anthony, I hope you'll come back soon, share some more time
it'd
with
be
us.
fun. It's fun.
In the meantime, I want to
By the
encourage
way,
all the. Go ahead.
none of these are really original ideas. Most of them are stuff we've stolen over what we just are encouraging young band directors to do. And old
Steal.
band directors.
Please steal.
But
I mean,
we-
everything.
We like to pretend they are.
Oh, no. I could almost give you a name for every.
Yeah.
I learned this from him, her, other. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Wow. Well,
Well-
man, I appreciate you, Derek. It's been
Sure.
good.
Come back and see us. Mike, go out, preach the gospel, brother.
Will do.
All right. See you soon.
All right.
Bye.